Have you ever knowingly done business with what I like to call organized crime? Have they ever stopped by
I've
and said...
really tried to stay away from them as much as possible. Although I must say, I have met on occasion a few of those people. They happen to be very nice people. You just don't want to owe them money.
Yeah, I understand.
Don't owe them money.
But now,
There are 26 mafia families in the country, the rules set by a commission of bosses who divide up the territory. To get an idea of what's at stake for all of us, a presidential committee's report estimated in 1988 that the mob took in $30 billion a year in tax-free money. The report says the 5 families in New York jack up the prices on construction by 20%. At the center of this, Sammy Gravano, who ran construction and concrete for the Gambino crime family.
I literally marvel at the sight of Manhattan when I see it because I controlled it. I literally controlled Manhattan. When I see it at night, those lights and everything about it, I think of Donald Trump and Tishman and everybody else who couldn't build a building if I didn't want to build it. That got me off. Plus, I made a lot of money with it.
Trump Tower, when it was completed, was the tallest concrete structure, all concrete structure in the United States. No steel in the building. Donald made that choice at a time when the mob completely controlled the concrete industry in New York. Other developers were fighting the mob cartel. Sam Lefrak, the Resnicks, they were fighting. They were going into court to fight it. Donald did tremendous business with the mob concrete cartel.
The last time I appeared before Congress, I came to protect Mr. Trump. Today, I am here to tell the truth about Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump called me a rat for choosing to tell the truth, much like a mobster would do when one of his men decides to cooperate with the government.
And that the dinner was an effort to build a relationship, in fact, he asked specifically, of loyalty. And the president begins by wanting to talk about my job. And so I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute, 3 times you've already asked me to stay or talked about me staying. My common sense, again, I could be wrong, but my common sense told me what's going on here is that he's looking to get something in exchange for granting my request to stay in the job.
What Comey's testimony, prepared testimony, read like to me was someone from the outside with some integrity commenting on the nature of a mafia family.
The Russians interfered in our election during the 2016 cycle. They did it with purpose, they did it with sophistication, they did it with overwhelming technical efforts, and it was an active measures campaign driven from the top of that government. It's not about Republicans or Democrats. They're coming after America, which I hope we all love equally. They want to undermine our credibility in the face of the world. They think that this great experiment of ours is a threat to them.
That's essentially the way I view President Trump now, as a godfather, as the member that orchestrates everything within his team and expects loyalty, honest or otherwise. And it's going to take a while for my political party because they think they're going to accomplish all these goals while this guy is running around the White House because he's a Republican. They aren't going to accomplish a thing, that what they're doing is hurting this country.
Trump first visited Moscow in the summer of 1987, and who invited him? The Soviet governments. They don't do that for everybody. And who organized his travel? Intourist, which is a Soviet agency, which is basically the KGB. In other words, we can say, without exaggerating, that the KGB has a huge file on Donald Trump. They're interested in his psychological weaknesses. There are a whole series of memos from that period from the chief of the KGB saying to his heads of station, including in Washington and New York, guys, you need to do more to recruit and cultivate Americans. You are failing. Try harder. Use material incentives. And so they were seeking to penetrate the American establishment, politics for sure, but also business.
Bringing Trump over for this kind of trip was pretty unusual. It was what's known in the intelligence trade as a kind of classic cultivation operation. And we know from leaked KGB memos, the kind of person they were looking for during this period was someone who was vain, narcissistic, interested in money, perhaps unfaithful in their marriage. And basically Donald Trump kind of ticks every single box. And when I was researching this, I tracked down the daughters of the Soviet ambassador at the time who went up to Trump Tower, flattered Trump and said, "You've built the most wonderful building in America." Moscow's been interested in Trump. And again, most recently, according to the Steele dossier,
to Moscow
became more interested in him from about 2012, 2013 onwards, at a time when Donald Trump was the sort of foremost exponent of birtherism.
You are not allowed to be a president if you're not born in this country. He may not have been born in this country. But I will tell you this, if he wasn't born in this country, it's one of the great scams of all time.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, please have a seat. Donald Trump is here tonight. No one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing?
Trump was steaming. His face was all locked in. He was not having a good time.
All kidding aside, obviously we all know about your credentials and breadth of experience.
And he's being treated like a piñata by the President of the United States. And I think he felt humiliated.
I think this was intolerable for Donald Trump.
I think that is the night that he resolves to run for president. I think that he is kind of motivated by it. Maybe I'll just run. Maybe I'll show them all.
Every detractor will have to bow down to President Trump. It's everyone who's ever doubted Donald, whoever disagreed, whoever challenged him. It is the ultimate revenge to become the most powerful man in the universe.
Vladimir Putin talked about the fall of Libya over and over again.
Gaddafi must go, and the Libyan people deserve to determine their own future.
The largest crowds in 2 decades have come out to protest what they're calling corruption by the government, including ballot stuffing.
Tens of thousands packed the streets of Moscow in the biggest anti-government demonstrations Russia has seen for 20 years.
This was the largest demonstration held in Russia, in Moscow, since the Democratic Revolution of August 1991.
They've already stolen everything there was to steal, says this demonstrator. It was the same story in dozens of cities throughout Russia. They shouted, "Putin is a thief," and Russia without Putin.
He was thrown by the protests. He was taken aback and had to look for a place to point the finger. He pointed it at us.
Concerning Russia, we're watching the election results with great interest. Clearly, the Duma is going to have a different makeup than it did before this election. And we do have serious concerns about the conduct of the elections. Russian voters deserve a full investigation of all credible reports of electoral fraud and manipulation.
Putin, from everything I see, has no respect for this person.
Well, that's because he'd rather have a puppet as president of the United States.
No puppet.
And it's pretty clear.
You're the puppet.
It's pretty clear you won't admit that the Russians have engaged in cyber attacks against the United States of America, that you encouraged espionage against our people, that you are willing to spout the Putin line, sign up for his wish list, break up NATO, do whatever he wants to do, and that you continue to get help from him because he has a very clear favorite in this race.
My people came to me, Dan Coates came to me, and some others. They said they think it's Russia. I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this, I don't see any reason why it would be. So I have great confidence in my intelligence people, but I will tell you that President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today. And what he did is that
In my lifetime, I've seen presidents in both parties deal with Soviet and Russian leaders in many different ways, but never once kowtowing, never once refusing to acknowledge which country stands for freedom and which often opposes it. You have been watching perhaps one of the most disgraceful performances by an American president at a summit in front of a Russian leader.
And then they will fear you.
Godfather.
Good. Someday, and that day may never come, I'll call upon you to do a service for me.